Getting recorded, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we can proceed. So the first is like we need to distribute coins in the binary tree. The root of a binary tree with n nodes, and each node in the tree has node dot val coins, and there are n coins in total. And in one move, we may choose two adjacent nodes and move one coin from one node to another. The move may be from parent to child or from child to parent. We need to return the number of moves required to make every node having exactly one coin. So it's having three, so it will give one to this, one to this. So total movement should be two. And for here, it will take one, two it will move. So two, and again one it will move. So total three movement of the coin. And here again we can say it will move one here, and from one it will go to here. So two moves, two coins. And in this, I think the rates fluctuate. Yeah. So it will take one and move two up. So two here. Again, it will keep one, move one here. So two plus one, three. And from here, one will move to here. So total four. And yeah. Yeah, any queries in the question?
So we have n nodes in case if we have n nodes. So we'll have exact n coins also, right?
Yeah, one coins everybody will have
Yeah. So that is the way we have to distribute. So there won't be anything like that.
extra.
Yeah, extra or maybe the nodes are lesser or more than the coins, right?
Yeah, yeah. It will be exactly equal to the
Okay.
coins. Hmm.
So in the fourth example, if you see, uh,
Yeah,
the last one, right? Yeah.
yeah, it's fluctuate. Yeah,
So they start counting the moves from the node third, right?
bottom half.
Yeah, bottom one. But because I was thinking, whenever there is zero, you skip counting. But in this example, the root node has a value one, but they are not counting
Yeah,
it there, right?
yeah. No, because
So,
zero
uh,
also we need to have one. Zero is also supposed to have one, right?
yeah, but what I
If
was thinking,
yeah, yeah.
like whenever there is a node which has
Okay.
more than zero, then you have to count that movement from that node. Because it might so happen in between, like uh, when the root is more, okay,
Okay.
if the root was 2 and then there was something like 1 over here, so we would have counted that, right? So in the root it was 2, and where now it is 0, that is to the, what do you say, left of it,
Left.
here it is 0, right? So if root was 2 and this guy was 1, the left of it was 1, so
Hmm.
you would have counted that one, right?
Yeah. But yeah. And what about this here?
Yeah, so then that if that is something, some number, so you will still count it, correct?
Yeah.
So I was thinking like whenever there is 0, you don't count, because I was trying to find where I should start counting the moves. That I was really not getting from this. It's slightly confusing to me.
Yeah. Yeah. But let's say if you start from the root and if you have extra nodes here, what you say on the bottom, then
Mhm.
how will you distribute again? So it's better to if you start from bottom. So you bottom got satisfied. Now only uh, upper needs to be satisfied, right?
Yeah, but so you are saying that you always go to the leaf node and then you start
Yeah.
counting from there, right?
Bottom
But
up.
if,
Yeah.
yeah, but if you take the example one, it is exactly the reverse. It
Yeah.
starts
It's
from the root,
like
right?
yeah. That intuition you will get only when these examples will be there. This type of.
Mm.
Otherwise, you'll have that intuition only from root you
Right,
distribute to
right,
the.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Had they given this one, then I think the what you are saying from root we could have distributed to left, right, that kind of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what you say makes sense, what we should do is we start traversing in a DFS manner, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Whatever traversal you take, you go to the leaf node, okay?
Mm.
And at the leaf node, you find whatever the value is, because at the leaf node, you have to take a decision, correct?
Yeah.
So first you go to the leaf node. If you find, if there is some value, it's good. Like you subtract -1 from it.
exactly.
Or if it is 0 also, you just subtract -1 because you need one coin, correct?
Yeah.
And
So
from
whatever it has, it will keep one with itself, and the rest it will throw to the upward.
correct, correct.
Yeah.
So that way you can actually start, returning the value on the top saying, I need this much coins, correct?
Yeah.
And then from there, you can find out what the left side or the right side or both of those trees, they really want them. And then you can find a sum, yeah.
And then, yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
But yeah, the recursive way is there, but it's slightly tricky, correct? So
Yeah. Yeah.
in the DFS, whether we should go for pre-order, post-order, yeah, of course, in order won't work, I think.
Post order should work. First satisfy the leaf and then the root. Right.
Yeah, but you need to actually take some care in the pre-order section also. I won't say it might be a pre-order, but on the upper side, like if you're doing everything on the post order is like when you complete all the traverses, right, left and right, then you go do some computations at the bottom. So if you call that as a post order, so in the
Yeah.
pre-order also you have to do something for the base cases, correct?
So pre-order, you'll do something for the root, right?
Yeah, something like that, right? Yeah, you can say, but it's not a pre-order exact, but we are doing
Yeah.
some computations there. That is what I mean.
Kind of.
So because I had solved this problem long back,
Yeah.
and then when I saw this time, I tried to recollect it, and I was also thinking maybe I should be able to understand and recollect all that stuff, but it's slightly difficult to again visualize that.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I
I
had to
mean,
take some
yeah.
help. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. This example made more clear. Otherwise, like, I mean,
Yes,
only if they
the
need this
first and last is really important. Correct.
important one. Yeah. Yeah. If somebody wants to share code or the idea is simple. Like you start from bottom, and it will keep something one for himself, and rest he'll move it to the root, and the root will keep one for themselves and move it to the next. I mean, next leaf,
Yeah.
the right leaf. Yeah. You want to share code, Santosh? I think.
Yeah, I can share. It's
Okay,
not a
let
big
me
thing. I
finish
think
with
it might be almost the same.
same only. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's same only. I'll go to the first extreme left,
Mm-hmm.
and there if you go, whatever now once you go, yeah, it's left and right is null. So it will return 0 to this, and now from 3, it will keep 1 for itself, and it will return 2. That is temp dot val. Left and right is 0 for 3, and
Mm-hmm.
temp dot val is 3. 3 minus 1 is 2. So 1 it will keep, and 2 it will send it to there. The reason behind taking this absolute is, let's say if you have 0, this one,
Mm-hmm.
or let's say if you, I think, let's say
I
if
think the
some
first
nodes,
example, right? The first example has
yeah, yeah.
zeros. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Hmm.
Or this one. Yeah, anything.
Yeah. This will take care of. No, here I think I was expecting a leaf node to have 0
Right.
from the
Yeah. The third one also is there, right? Leaf node.
third one, but still he is starting from this side.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Third one is correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's showing like that. But what I'll do, I'll go to the extreme left, and it will
Mm-hmm.
keep I mean 0 1 coin it will keep, and -1 it will return to the root.
Right.
Yeah, and because of from there it will pass some of the it will keep 1 coin for itself and pass remaining to this 2.
Yep.
Mm.
So that is the reason you are doing absolute value, because when you are returning, you might return -1 minus any negative value also, right?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So you have
I
to
think it
take
will
it.
be only -1. It won't be more than that.
Yeah, it won't be more because every node will have almost 1 coin, right?
One or
I
zero point,
mean,
at least 1 0 or something. Yeah.
yeah. -1 it won't be too large. Yeah, that's one. Yeah, any queries in this?
Maybe I can quickly show you mine, because
Okay, sure.
It's slightly more, it's not very concise like yours, but the way I understood, I'll just show you. Yeah, yours is exactly the way we should do.
Yeah, it's like,
But I did on, I've added more, what you say, code for that. It's not very
no,
good
it's
way
very
of doing
cool.
it, but what I was when I actually was doing it, actually I got this from the discussion session only. So okay, so this part is normal. Like if you see root node is null, you return, or else you have an helper root, and I'm actually assigning ans this value
Global,
as
yeah.
a global, okay, class variable. So in the helper, actually what I do is, the first is our base condition, the regular one, when if it is root is equal to null, right? So, but here
Yeah.
what I'm trying to do, an extra thing is like, I try to find if the node which we are coming in is a leaf node. So if it is a leaf node, I return from there itself a root val minus one, you know. So whatever the
Yeah.
value is just written when. So I know that I need some coins, or I have excess coins. So that is what it will be the base condition. Then when I come here to the left and right, when I traverse, I collect whatever the left and right values will be. And as you are doing it, right, the absolute values, what I'm looking, if it's not zero, so it can be negative or it can be positive. So if it is
Positive, yeah.
not, yeah, if it is not zero, then I just add that to my answer value, which is the global variable. So that these are the moves, right? That is what it is. So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, so I'm adding both of them here. And then at the end, when I come to the post order, I know that I've traversed all left and right. So, but I'm not at the leaf one because I've taken care of the leaf here. So the way I do slightly different is I don't go to the leaf when I actually do the post order traversal. I come here. I know that I have some right value and the left value and the root, current root. So I just add all of them and subtract one, because that current node needs to have some value of one coin, and
Yeah.
that is the way I do. So what you do is exactly the
Same
same.
on, yeah.
Yeah, but only thing, extra thing I'm trying to add, because I understood this slightly better. The way you are describing, right? Earlier you
Yeah.
said that you should go to the traverse to the lowest node, the leaf node, and then
Yeah.
actually return the value. So then actually it keeps on, pushing up the node, the movements actually, whatever they
Extra
are
coins.
to
Yeah.
the upper layers.
Hey, could you explain why we need the absolute value?
Yeah, I see,
Yeah.
like in this case, example one, right? So if you traverse to the end here, right? So when you traverse to the end, your root value here will be zero, correct? So root value will be zero. So root value minus one, 0 minus one will
Minus
be
value.
minus, right? So you are returning here, in this case, when you are at 3, you are returning here minus 1. And from the right also you are returning minus 1, because you need one coin there, therefore you are actually returning minus 1. And that is the reason we have to do an absolute value, because we know that there are movements to be done, even if it is a negative number. And therefore we are actually adding both of them.
That will, minus one will come only if zero you have. Otherwise, I don't think so. Other than minus one,
Yeah,
any other
we won't have
value.
any other value, only minus 1, correct. Or maybe, Shashank, if we have like many 0, 0, 0s, right? In the 3, 0, if you have another 0, 0, 0 something, and this might be more. So there might be more than one, minus 1, right? So the minus 1 of the lower one, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, something like that, right?
Accumulate it will,
Yeah,
yeah.
accumulated one. So it might be more than that also. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
But at
But
every
then
step, only
when
one
it
minus
go
one
to
would be
the
there.
Yep. But I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, when it go to the root, then let's say you have 3 0 on the left child, right? Then when it go to the root, then that's gonna be, say, it missing 3 coins on the left.
Yeah, in that case, if you have 3 of them, then it
Then
will be missing 3s. Yeah.
yeah, but how the root know if that missing 3 coin if it's not negative?
Yeah, if it is not negative, oh, if it's not negative, it means there are some values there, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah.
Only the answer you get the absolute value, but when you return the positive or negative.
Right. Yeah, you have to
Okay.
return that negative positive. Yeah, sorry if I missed that point. Yeah,
Mm.
because we don't actually do an absolute while returning. We can't do that, right? So this one or this one. These are the only two ways actually it returns. Yeah, okay. I think otherwise when you look at the solution, it looks very simple, right?
Thinking and coming up with that is
Yeah, coming up with that. Also, I didn't find any iterative solution for this one. When I was looking through the discussion forum also, but I didn't find it.
this is more concise, like recursive one.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mm, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, more
So
patient.
any other, if any ideas, if somebody wants, we can proceed to next. Okay, let's switch then. So we need to remove all the adjacent duplicates in string 2. A string S is given and a k duplicate removal consists of choosing k adjacent and equal letters from S and removing them, causing the left and right side of the deleted substring to concatenate together. We repeatedly make k duplicate removals on S until no longer we can. And we need to return the final string after all such duplicate removals have been made, and it's guaranteed that the answer is unique. So here you don't have anything duplicate. So let's come to this. So if you see, they are saying 3, k equal to 3 means 3 back to back, I mean consecutive duplicates are there. So this will be kicked out. When you remove out this triple E, then triple C also can be kicked out. Now, if you remove triple C, double B and 1B also you'll have. That will also be removed. And then triple D will come after that. That will also be removed and double A you'll be left with. And here again 2, if you see, BB will be removed, GG will be removed, TT, I mean if you do it, it will be PS. Yeah, it will be only because P is only string having length of 1 and I is having 4, so completely it will be removed, and all others are 2, those will be removed, and S is having only 1 frequency, so that will be left. Your length is less than 10^5 and it will contain only English lowercase letters. Yeah, any queries?
So here we are actually modifying the string, correct? So if we take the example 2 and the k value is 3, right? So when we hit on this triple E first, we delete all of them, right? And then we form another string. If it is Java, it's going to be a new string, correct? Or yeah, if you use a string builder, that's a different case.
Okay.
Then so each and every time we have to erase those letters which are duplicates
Consecutive
of value k, yeah, and should be consecutive. And then again return that string. So there is a lot
and
of
orientation should be maintained. I mean, people might be thinking to sort it.
Yeah, that is not, yeah, you can't sort because you have to find with the consecutive ones, right? And the positions are important, as you said.
Yeah.
And so when you erase them and you are moving, your pointer is moving, like as you did for E, and then went ahead with CCC. Okay, but in the first iteration, there was nothing, like only 3 E's and 3 C's that you could be remove. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then the string again form was like DD, BB, whatever was shown. Yeah. So then actually again you could remove the 3 B's there, right?
Yeah.
So then after that again the triple D's came together and then you have that A. So therefore you remove that last 3 D's in the third iteration, correct? So you have to keep on iterating. So I was wondering, how can we do this? Because if you keep on iterating if you have a bigger string, a long string, it might be many iterations, correct?
Iterations. I thought initially of this two pointer, but
Yeah.
because, yeah.
So then in two pointer where you have to end, okay, you can find a condition saying, okay, if there are no, what do you say, erasing points, so you can stop, you can actually create that condition. But that, if you look at the, what you say, the time complexity, it's not predictable, right? In that case.
Yeah, because once you remove triple E, again you'll have a situation where DD will come. So again you have to traverse from beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in one pass, I don't think so. It's possible using sliding window with this two-pointer approach.
Yeah.
Or if somebody has, because I don't think.
Hi, I have one thing's coming into my mind.
Yeah, yeah.
So can we like count the number of the characters, like k is given to 3. So can we count the number of characters? If it is 3, then we can remove it, and then rest of the string will be our answer.
Orientation also matters, no? Let's say if you see E is 3 and CC is 3, you will remove it. No, let's say if 4 E's are given, then
No, I think he's saying something different. Yeah. He's saying that, have a count of each and every find. Okay.
yeah.
But then when you first hit on something like E, right, Vipin?
Yes.
You just remove it and again you give the whole string. You start with again putting that in the count, or maybe you just update the count to whatever it is. And then again traverse the string, correct?
Yeah, Miss. So we can
Yes,
say
sir.
iterations.
So every time we'll calculate the frequency.
Update it, yeah. You can just update it, right?
So if E is 4, so 3 will delete for the first time, right?
Yes, Miss. If it is count is equal to 3, so then we can delete it. Means that characters we can at least delete those.
Yeah, true. So if your E is 4, then 3 you have to remove and 1 you have to keep, right?
Yes.
How will you take care of that one?
Do you have something to share?
Yeah.
I've just seen the problem statement, so just thoughts are coming.
Okay. Yeah, actually that is one way of doing it, I would say. Yeah, but as Shashank was saying that it might be, the time complexity might be higher. So I think
can we do it in a way that, for example, if first we'll take if 3 E is there, we'll remove the E, then we'll go one pointer back and we'll check it again if 3 can be removed or not. If not, then I will move ahead. Whenever I get 3, right, I'll remove it and I'll go one pointer back, because obviously if I remove it, then only those 3, means what is coming after 3 can be removed, right? Otherwise, to move ahead. So in a way, right?
Time complexity, I think. Okay.
But no, he's saying it can be done in one iteration, correct? That is what he's trying to say, yeah.
Right.
But only thing is you have to keep on maintaining the pointer. You have to keep going back.
One pointer only, means just one point, not the complete, right? Just one pointer, because I have removed the one before it, right? I have to only move one, not from the beginning.
Right.
So you'll have to again go back, right? Let's say you removed all the
one pointer back. Yeah, after removing, suppose before that ABCD is also there, something like that. Okay. So we'll not go there. We'll just get the D part first, because I'm not changing anything there. So I just need to go one pointer back. That's it.
Yeah, he's saying like you can have 2 pointers there, but one pointer will keep on moving, and the other pointer, whenever you find they are like duplicates, just remove them and push that pointer to the previous point. Yeah, and then again start from there. Yeah.
Have you code anything?
Yeah, actually there are many solutions for this problem, I would say.
Sorry, I couldn't follow it. So can somebody, what are the, if you could just explain with an example, it will help.
I think the speaker.
So, so the point is that, so what I am saying is that, let's say we start off with D, okay, then we'll check that if next three letters are same or not. Okay, in case it is same, right, we just come back to the previous pointer. Okay, and again start checking it out, remove it and coming to a previous pointer, and again start checking out. For example, DD twice is there, so I'll just move ahead. Again, BB is 2 twice. I'll move away. Again, I will come at B, right? Again, I see that there are 3 C's. I'll remove C, and now I will again move to the previous pointer. Okay, and check it if triple B is there. Then I will remove triple B also. Again, I will move to D. Okay, there I will see that okay, there now again D would be there, right? I'll remove D as well, I believe. Yeah, D, E will be as removed. Yeah, the whole D will be removed. Then again, only A will be left.
But
So
when
we
you
want,
said when you are removing triple C, then how can you come to the first V there?
yeah, that is.
So, I think we can use a data structure now here because it will help. We can use something like a list where on one end you keep on adding new things and removing if it is not needed. So
Yeah.
I can share something here. Shank, do you want to share?
Shashank, he wants to share it.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah.
Let me know when you can see my screen.
Yeah, it's visible.
So any language you can use a list, or in Java there's a dequeue, but I think in Python you can even use a list. So keep on adding the character and its count at the end. So first time when what was the example? This D. So D will come. It will be D comma 1. This is the
Right. Yeah.
So this is the first time we have seen that. Then the other guy will come. So the other time we'll get E. E will also come here. Then next time when E will come, it will check here. It is the top element is E. We are checking the last element technically. And then it will remove it, add its count. E will become 2. And if it is not equal to K, then add it again back. So we'll put this back again in the queue. Again, another E will come. It will again go through this cycle. So but this time the count will become 3 here. So we'll not put it back. So technically it is gone.
Yeah.
Then after that, another D will come. So it will come and update it here, over here. So after that, we'll get B. B, the same way B will go back. There are 2 Bs, followed by, I think, 3 Cs. So 3 will again, first 2 Cs will go into this cycle. And when the third C will come, this guy will not put it back. And then we get another B, which will go here, which will try to go here, but as soon the count will increase, we are not putting it back. Then another D will come, it will try to go here, but as soon the count will go, it will go away. And then we get this A twice. And
So we are basically using it as a last in first out approach, stack actually, right?
no, so till this implementation, this is a stack. You're right. To remove things at the end, so where the dequeue will be used, where I want to poll with the start thing, or I can still remove things from the stack and reverse them at the end. So how this will look like at the end if it is stack. Let's say there was D comma 2 and then it was like this. So if it is stacked, first I have to remove A, put it A twice, like here. A will go twice, then followed by D will go, and then I have to reverse the entire thing. If
Yeah.
it is a
Yeah, one time reversal, correct.
Yeah, if it is a queue, DQ like thing which works both stack and queue, I can remove them and put it like this. So it's a matter of data structure. A stack is stack is I think the right way to say it. But while removing a queue like the data structure could be helpful.
I mean, without the help of data structure, can it be done like just using 2 pointers?
I think that can be done, but you have to go back and forth.
Yeah.
That's where data structures can help.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this makes it easier, but that will be, and in that case, every time we have to go forward. I mean, to the beginning from where we have started, and then again check if.
Yeah, and this is a really tricky question because it will say you remove D, then you put 3, you removed E's, then this D will get combined with this 2 D's in between.
But I think we'll have to always use some data structure, right? In the case where you are saying when you can go back on the pointers, we still have to have a count, maybe a vector or an array. You still have to have something.
But yeah, this again, I think I did like a while ago. So again, I think I looked some discussions and then I thought like a DQ would be a better solution.
That's good. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a tricky question because you'll get different things. Oh, things can again combine while the solution is running, and that time what to do.
Yes.
The first idea that hit was like 2 pointer only in this, but yeah.
But 2 pointer from first and end, start and end, or like 1 pointer would be running, 1 would be stationary, and then
the fast and slow pointer or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that should also that I think that could be a starting point for this, and then look for more hints from the interviewer.
But the only thing is, when actually they are saying, you actually go to the string and you erase those elements wherever you find duplicates, then the size changes, as you said, Yes. Therefore, the s dot length will always change. Here, in your case, you are doing a different implementation. That's good. But where you actually try to remove some of the elements, then your size changes if you are in a for loop. So you have to take care of that also.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, same I did, just stack like what Ashim was explaining. I like every time you encounter the new character, just give it a value of 1. Else, if you have the same thing you have encountered, just make it 2. The moment you hit 3, you knock it out of the stack. And at last, just whichever character is left, take the count and repeat those many times. Every character I'm going to, this is just checking the top of the stack, the first one, whether this is just checking whether the next character that which I'm viewing is similar to the previous one in the stack. If it is, then you decrease the no, I mean, if it is the case, then you have to check whether it matches with, I mean, I have reduced 3 to 2. I mean, whenever I hit the third time, I don't need to append it. If I find that character with 2, I'll just pop it out, else I'll increase the frequency of it by 1. And every time you face a new character, just insert that character and give a count of 1. And at last, whatever is left, you just pop it out. Those many times to repeat that character.
Okay. It's similar to what Asim was showing, right?
Yeah, Asim was showing exactly.
Okay.
The order of n, it will be like only parsing the string. Yeah. Extra space. Yeah. Anyone have any other approach other than this one?
Well, I'll quickly show you mine. Actually, it's similar to this, but I actually took from the solutions only.
Yeah.
But I think Someone was talking about it, right? What? Just like a two-pointer approach, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm using a stack. Okay. So then I run the for loop. Okay. So I'm using two indexes. One is the fast index you can call, and this is a normal index, I. And then this is the size of the string. And I'm actually manipulating the string itself because it's a C++, so you can do that. And that's an advantage I'm taking here. So I'm actually copying always from the I pointer to the J pointer. And I get whatever you guys did exactly the same. If the stack is empty or if the previous value doesn't match, then you start with the stack, push first one, or else then you try to increase it, the top value, if they are same. And if they are k, then you just pop out that element, and then your second pointer actually move it back, right? Someone was talking, right? So about the two pointer. So this is the way I did, right? So j is equal to minus k, and it's only in this condition you do that, and keep on going it. So you are actually moving, you are copying from wherever they are non-duplicates, you are copying this value. Whenever you find duplicates, actually just remove that, right? Then you are actually moving your pointer again back. So at the end, you come to whatever you have. So whatever the non-duplicates values, that will be your jth pointer. That will be the end one, and just return a substring from 0 to that value.
Yeah.
So this was the one I think Indradas was talking about. So I thought maybe just show it, but I think it's almost same what you guys have done. But I found it slightly better. Yeah. Because earlier I was doing the other way, like when I was talking to Asim also, like you try to erase it, right? So whenever you erase it, it's the same normal one. I use a vector and then I look for if it is the earlier ones are not matching, just start with 1, or else you keep on adding it. If I find its k value, then I erase. So I know that are duplicates. So, but when I'm doing a string erase, your string size changes. So I can't use any fixed value over here, or else it messes up. Earlier I was using like int n is equal to s dot size, then it wasn't working. But I didn't like it. You have to erase it in the middle and again you work on that string. So I thought this approach was slightly better, and the two-pointer one. That's the reason I just wanted to show.
Yeah.
I think this might only work in C++ because you can manipulate the strings, right, directly. I'm not sure.
Java, we don't. Okay, I'm not sure.
Yeah. So, and I think the solution also has shown C++. They rarely show solutions of C++. It was shown over there for this time. So that was a good thing.
It's only Java and Python as most of the times.
Yeah, most of the time it's Java and Python. It's very rare it comes to C++. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so any queries? Not, if not, we can proceed to next. Okay. So this is a falling square. Squares on, we have a number line. We drop the given squares in the order they are given. The ith square, if you drop, it's left from where it will start, and the side length is given, which is a square with leftmost point being position I of I0, and side length is this one, I1. The square is dropped with the bottom edge parallel to the number line, and from a higher height than all currently landed squares. We wait for each square to stick before dropping the next. The squares are infinitely sticky on their bottom edge and will remain fixed to any positive length surface they touch, either the number line or the another square. Squares dropped adjacent to each other will not stick together prematurely. and we need to return the list of, we need to return list answer of heights, and answer I represents the current highest height of any square we have dropped after dropping squares represented by position this and this. Yeah. So if you see in the example, this is one is where you have a square box. I can show you with a diagram. I think like if you have a number line, this is your, let's say, number line. So let's say 1 is here, so it's saying, so it first square is put at 1 and it has a side of 2. So if it has a side of 2, then it will go till here 3. I think it became, this is everything is 2 only. So it started at 1, when you add 2 it will be 3. Next square is like, it starts from 2 and side length is 3. So if it starts from 2, then somewhere it will come here, and we always drop the square from the height, from the earlier height. So you'll drop from top, so it will start from here and it will go for next 2, I think 3. So if it is 3, then from 2 to 3 it will go to 5. Sorry, you will not have this. It's sticky there, so I mean it will hold the entire square. So you will come at 5, this portion, this square will be here, and after that they are saying 6, and they are starting from 6. If they are starting from 6, that means it will be here. Here means from ground here it will be 6, and is going for 1. Yeah, it's going for 1. So if it starts from 6 going 1, that means it will be 7. This is the diagram, and so they are telling you the return the list of each represents current height of, current height they are telling. So initially when you did not have this second square, so initial height was 2. So in answer you see the first one as 2. Next when you put 5, then the maximum height among between these two will be 5. And third time if you see, its height is only 1. It will come here only, not this one. So again it is only overtaking the height. So 255 is released. I mean, will be your answer. This is the long story cut short, that what I told. At
How
first,
come last
yeah.
one is how come 5 height?
Yeah, this is of length 1 only. So till now you have higher, yeah. So this I draw by mistake. You have till now you have the square which is bigger of height 5.
Right.
Yeah.
But the
So
next last square is the height 1, right? So the output should have 5, 1, isn't it? Or
no, till now current, I mean you have to check from back what is current height till now. Like when I didn't have the second square, my height, I was having only this square 2. Now when 5 came, 5 is greater than 2, so I'll update the at second iteration my height will be 5. Now when I took a height of square 1, but my earlier height is 5, so that what you say, your height will go whichever the maximum is. Had it been 6, no, then your answer would be 256.
okay, got it.
Yeah, because they are telling here, like at every iteration you have to return the return a list. Each height represents the current highest height. So at that point, the current highest height is 5.
So you are saying that the last height of sixth block, which is 1,
Yeah.
we are not taking that into consideration. We are only taking the maximum value till this point.
Till that point, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
When we had 2, this 2, when we had 5 second, till that point 5 was highest, and when 1, 5 will be the highest only.
So it's like the cumulative max. Cumulative max value. That is what you want there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So the same thing they are giving here. First drop of position, this maximum height of any square is 2 first time. Good. Second drop when you do, maximum height will be 5. The larger square stays on the top of smaller square despite center of gravity. What they do, because where its center of gravity is, because squares are infinitely sticky on their bottom edge. The one I showed from top, you drop on bottom. And third one, the maximum height of any square is still 5. So we return 255. If you go here, so 100, 100, and next is starting from 200. So first will be 100, and this also height will be 100. They will not intersect. I mean these two, because your second square is starting from it will go to 200, and from 200 this is starting. Yeah. So
Because they are not actually intersecting.
it will intersect, I think, because 100 to 100, 200 first square will go, and from 200 only the second square is starting.
So there's no overlap.
There will be no. You
They're
started.
They're
100 you started.
exactly side by
Edge.
side, I would say.
Yeah, side by side. Oh, then not overlapping.
Yeah, they're considering, I mean,
Yeah, they don't include the right side value, but before
Yeah.
that, before that, that what they say, you know,
At least
square
one less.
bracket, yeah.
Oh, where? Which area?
So okay, if you look at
Oh, here there's explanation. It's somewhere prematurely they said, right? Where?
yeah, you should not consider the right side value, but anything lesser than the right side value, that is what it says. Yeah.
Yeah, this square dropped adjacent to each other will not stick together prematurely. Okay. Only their bottom, I mean, one on the top can stick. Otherwise, side no sticking. No. It's kind of you can say merge intervals only, but not exactly, but like or any other. I mean, what I saw it was like that. Or if any other idea.
So you are saying they just find an intersection, and if there is an intersection, you just consider that value of as an height, because this is a square, right? So whatever the side length is always going to be the height also.
Exactly. And every point keep track of max height that you have seen till now.
Yeah. So wouldn't this problem be very normal? Like just go look for the intersections and just look for the maximum height till now and just fill in that array?
Yeah, but implementing it was like
no, it's very difficult actually. It's implementing is very difficult. Actually, I wasn't able to get it.
I saw it, but I mean, thought process is very clear. Like seems to be simple thought process, but
so yeah, I mean, as Shashank mentioned, that it looks like an interval problem. Yeah. The only challenge I do see here that if we sort the input, but the output should not be sorted. So we have to return the height at that particular index. So
I think
I mean, if we keep track the original index when we sort it, then it can help us actually.
No, but if you sort it, no, the problem will be like let's say you have to sort it.
Yeah, if you sort it, but you somehow you keep the track for the original index for those points, which will help you to actually build the output.
Yeah. Original index in what sense, like?
Because the output should be based on the same input sequence, right?
Yeah.
So if you sort it, so it will change the position for those points. So now you need to keep something, or you need to track where originally that point was, so that you can put the actual height at that index.
Exactly.
So this, if it's the intersection problem or the merging problem, whatever it is, so sometimes like the side length might be more than some couple of intervals, or more than it can consume many intervals also, right? So you need to take care of that.
So you have to check this 200 should be greater than 100 plus 100. Then, I mean, for checking the intersection, because 100 is the point where you are starting and 100 is the side length. So from Yeah. So if this value is greater than, sorry, less than combined value these two, like let's come here.
Yeah. So here, I mean, trick is that your end point is actually the start point plus the second value.
Second value, huh? Exactly. Yeah.
So you
two-
might have to compare all the intervals with each other, correct? So in order to
For the
find the exact height.
So for
It's
the
not
next
like you
step,
have to compare the intersection, the previous intersection with the current one.
Exactly.
That won't help, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
So
If
therefore,
you
it
take
might be a
for
solution
this,
in that case.
yeah. Because if let's say he started, what you say, this is good if you compare with the previous one. Let's say this started at position 0. Then it will be intersection on the first one, right?
Yeah.
On the first top it will fall. Yeah.
Or maybe like the first one instead of the second
Yeah,
value.
you're
is
right.
2,
I
you
think
have to-
that's not going to work actually.
Yeah. So if it is a 10, it will be very.
Yeah.
If it is 3, 1,3 it is, and this is 2, very narrow gap there.
Yeah. Take an example. Say like the first drop at let's say 1 and size is
3.
say 5.
5, okay, 6.
And then second drop at 4.
4. Okay.
4 and size is 6, and now third drop at 2.
Then it will fall on first.
Yeah.
So, but when we sort it, so the 2 will come before 4. Yeah, that's not going to work. Looks like.
Therefore, in the implementation section also, they have given many solutions. Oh, sorry, in the solution section, and they have also, one thing was what about segment trees. They are mentioning about segment
last
trees.
so somewhere I couldn't.
And that was very difficult for me to understand. I just gave up on that.
It's like
the last two actually, third and fourth. The third also I didn't understand.
And something coordinate compression they have used. I don't know what else.
Yeah, this one I didn't understand. So
this brute force.
Yeah, I tried to do it the only brute force way, but it gave me a memory exceeding and then
TLE,
yeah. So therefore.
Yeah. So I'm just what I saw. I'm saying here. So let me. So you go through every cell, start and end pick, and keep track of the indices. So your right should be your this length, first length plus second length, so that in the next iteration, when I start from here, I'll check whether this value, if it is less than the sum total of these two, then definitely there is an intersection point, right? Yeah. So first and at that index I kept the size. Now I'll go for from here, this to this I'll go. From this index to the entire, I'll check if my right 2, that is this 2, no, right 2 I calculated 3 to 5 minus 1. If I'll check left 2 means this 2 is less than equal to right. If it is less than equal to right, that means this will fall on the top of this. And you have to make sure the other one also, left should be less than equal to your right 2. Left in the sense this this should be less than your right 2, and right 2 is the sum total of 5. That makes sure that you are intersecting, and at that point just update the max. And just once you got in a dictionary at every iteration the maximum, to just get the max element from there, from that array, and in the final result for every key in that hash map, just take the maximum one from the previous. Like at first time you'll have height of 200, next time you'll have 250, third time you'll have 251 height. So maximum from everywhere you take, like -1, I mean last one here, first iteration 2 will be the maximum, then 5 will be the maximum. From back you start, then here 5 will be the maximum, so 255.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw it like then it is. Otherwise, it looks like normal. I mean, after going through this, but it's not coming up with this. not a trivial one.
So it boils down to a complete intersection problem, right? What
Yeah, this
Praveen
is the
was also
crux.
saying. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. It did hit me. Yeah, that's good one. So what was the time complexity? Is it?
It will be like yeah, for everything. For first one, you are iterating from this to last. For second one, again, order of n square only it should be. Right.
Right. It will be order of 1 square in that case. Yeah. Wow. So after implementing it, it's very clear. Okay.
Easy to visualize, yeah.
It's very easy also. Yeah.
But I think if such things come in interview, like
Yeah.
one, I mean, by seeing the problem, at least one idea I got like this one, this merge concept, because so many things we have solved with merge that to calculate. But again, going through this is not that easy.
Yep.
Yeah. Or any other approach, anyone?
No, mine. I said like I couldn't get that pass.
That
yeah, it went for the TLE and.
Yeah.
But I was trying similar, but yeah. So if you look at the solution to something they are given like query and update, right? I was trying that. So because I didn't understand what is the value of some way, if you just go to the Java section, I would say.
First one.
The second one. Compression. Yeah. The second one. And if you slightly move down, in the failing square, yes, go down here. When in the heights, okay, if you see new int t, right? So this, I didn't understand the value t. What is the t value? So I thought maybe they are taking the maximum of the last value of the integers, because they just want to see how long on the x-axis it's going to be. So because they have to keep heights, and they are dividing heights like we do for a DP. If you have a target value, we have that target value vector, right? We use the target value as one of the axis of vector. So that is what I thought they might be using. But then I took the maximum value, it was 1E7, 10⁻⁷. But then it gave me memory limits. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So these are what, like some standard theorems or what, compression, like very standard, like only specific to this problem, or it's a very generic thing to know so that other places kind of
I think it's something to do with the segment tree.
Oh.
Because, yeah. If you go to the fourth problem, it is almost they're talking about segment tree, and they have used the same functions. So this is just, I'm thinking maybe it is segment tree related.
This is Fenwick segment, both are same.
Yeah, all the last three, I think they are almost similar. But that's what my thoughts are, my opinion. Maybe it's correct, I'm not sure. Because I think I'll have to try this again.
Yeah, I mean,
Looks
first I have to
interesting.
learn what is segment tree.
Yeah, therefore actually I want to try it because it looks interesting also now.
Yeah,
and we have problem statement.
And it's actually helpful to range-based query problem.
Right.
Yeah. And you have a range and you have to do multiple query on that.
Oh.
So like when you have to do a minimum range, query of a minimum value in a range, query of a maximum value in a range, query of a sum in a range, something like that, So then this data structure is useful, and it's slightly complex to understand. But if you understand, actually it will be helpful. That is what my thoughts are.
Yeah, I think I have to watch it.
Yeah, but this was a really hard problem for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ultimate hard was, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was next level.
Hey, when I think you discussed about merging the intervals. So
Yeah,
Could
sure.
with the merge intervals kind of a thing, because if you look at the first problem, we have like 1 2, right? When you draw it on the graph, it turns out to be like 1 3,
Yeah, perfect, huh?
and on the second one 2 3, when you draw it on the graph, it turns out like 2 5, right? And the third one is 6
Two.
1. Modify the coordinates.
Yeah.
We have the modified coordinates. I mean, is it not similar to like merge intervals problem?
Yeah, it's a merge intervals problem only.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
yeah.
But it's trying to see if there are overlaps. Is it not doing any merging, but just trying to find overlaps? Yeah.
The overlap here. Concept is same, but I'm not merging here. That one.
Okay.
Yeah. Just checking if it is intersecting or not.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard, but like if you could get an idea to modify the intervals, then it's just a merging, right? I'm just asking.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Now
I mean,
only it is very clear to me when Shashank showed me the implementation.
Okay.
This I
Yeah,
got like
you're right.
initial also this intersect concept, because earlier we have solved problems with merging and all, so it gives an intuition. But again, coming up with this is again a like challenging task.
Okay.
Yeah, but the only challenge in this problem is if you solve it via the regular merging or overlap issue implementation, it hits you at yearly,
Oh
So
yeah,
you
yeah.
need to actually find a very optimum way to solve this. So therefore, the segmentary concept actually will help you there, and then only you will actually overcome that TLE. That is what actually I understood when I was trying to implement it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So implementation is slightly tricky. It's not straightforward.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like.
But can it be
First
used
of all, understanding.
no,
Sure.
interval merging for segmentary can be used for interval merging as well?
Yeah, looks like they have used it in the solution.
Okay, thank you.
It can be used, yeah.
With lazy propagation, I don't know.
Maybe it's an advanced data structure or algo.
So if somebody knows segmentary, it would have been easy for him, right?
Yeah.
What he's saying like that only. If we are familiar with the idea of segmentary, which supports the queries and updates on intervals, we can immediately crack the problem.
Yeah. So therefore, I'm thinking, this might be very crucial to understand, because if you get all these interval problems, because nowadays interval problems are being asked very frequent, and some of them are very complex to even understand it or implement it. So learning such tricks will be helpful. Yeah. I don't know whether it's mandatory, but it will be helpful, I say.
It's time complexity to log what they are reducing or what?
I think it's n log n something, or it goes more than that, right? It at least goes to n square.
It's better than me, much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have 3 things to learn. One is that the postfix prefix.
Postfix, bit manipulation
and bit manipulation. Yeah, third one. Yeah. Okay. We might have 3 sessions for that sometime later.
Yeah. 3 Sundays can go.
Yeah.
Thank you.